Sonic 06 is widely known as one, if not the worst, Sonic game of all time. It's famous for its many glitches, bad gameplay mechanics, and a lot of long loading times. And at the time of its release, it was believed to have almost killed the whole franchise. While most thought this, I was absolutely in love with this game. Fresh out of the long-gone movie stores, Sonic 06 just had an absolute chokehold over me. I just fell in love with the world that this game was able to build. The problem was, I was just never able to see it all. See, I was bad at video games, and my child brain could just not handle the glitchiness of this game, and I just died over and over and over again. Why play this terrible game and just be mad all the time when I could play something a lot more fun, like Cars 2 on the Wii? I then put the game down forever as time continued to pass, and that was about until 15 years later. Watching Sonic 3 had brought back this feeling of wanting to play a Sonic game again. So, I found my old PS3 and decided that it was finally time to beat Sonic 06. Also, real quick before we get started, I don't know Sonic lore that well. I just wanted to play this game that I've dreamed of beating my whole life and make a silly video about it. So don't take my opinions too seriously, as I just want to give my honest feelings while playing the game. But otherwise, that takes us into our first episode of Sonic 06. Episode Sonic opens with what is known as the Festival of the Sun within the Kingdom of Soleanna. Here, we are introduced to Iblis, the Princess of Soleanna, as she's attacked by Eggman. And if you've never seen this cutscene before, I strongly urge you to watch it. I think it's very well put together, and it does a great job for setting things up all throughout this game. Following that beautiful cutscene, Iblis is taken by Eggman, which, if you know anything about this game, won't be a common event at all. For sure. Which brings you to Soleanna, where your first task is to jump through a bunch of rings. After doing that, allows the old man to let you into Wave Ocean. And while I won't talk about every level with great detail, I will pick a few per episode that are interesting in their, let's say, own ways. Now, while I was a dumb child, I was at least able to make it to the starting level, which allowed me to breeze through most of Wave Ocean, except for one part. What? Following that mistake takes us to the first main gimmick of episode Sonic, the high-speed sections. These sections occur in about half the levels in this game, and they go exactly how they sound. Sonic goes fast. The controls for Sonic here are far too aggressive. This, along with the game's struggling frame rate, is just a recipe for disaster. The dropping frames make you struggle to move your character, which causes you to move at some points you don't want to, and then you just run into the obstacles you're trying to avoid. However, due to my increase in age since I was a kid, I was finally able to conquer this level, which I totally didn't mess up at all. For sure, I would never do that. Cool.
Just made it.
Leaving Wave Ocean, we are tasked with saving this child who somehow got on this roof? How did you get up here? How? Before we head into the desert. Arriving at the desert, we take down Eggman's dog with ease by giving him a giant headache before we head into the actual level. This level features another big gimmick that occurs without this entire episode, which are these levels in which Elise is present. These levels aren't anywhere near as bad as some of the speed sections are. They can kind of just be whatever levels at points, not too good, but not too bad either. And honestly, this level was a great example of that, as I honestly don't have much to talk about. Leaving the desert, Sonic and Elise have this moment that builds their characters where they're interacting in this beautiful landscape, but I'm a bit distracted and I don't really notice that's happening. Where are we? Like, canonically, where the fuck are we? In the middle of nowhere? Arriving back to Soleanna, suddenly Silver appears and attacks Sonic, which begins the first boss that I'll really talk about here. This Silver fight is known for being a bit broke. See, if you run into Silver directly, he will just instantly pick you up and throw you. This problem becomes worse if you attempt to approach him from above. Silver will throw you straight up until you lose all your rings, which he'll do over and over again until you die. So if you don't play this fight in a specific way, it can cause you a lot of trouble as you will die over and over and over again. I figured out how to beat Silver fairly quickly and was able to move on, but that didn't stop me from getting a little bit upset at first. Dude, who designed the Silver boss fight?
It's no use.
I'm gonna crash out. Oh my god, I'm gonna crash out. Oh my. Freedom.
Too easy.
What?
No sweat.
In one of the funniest cutscenes I've ever seen, Sonic is attacked by Silver as Elise is captured by Eggman. Hope you're ready to hear that. Following that, I took on a side quest to truly demonstrate my gift of gaming. Was that a game over? stage. We then head to New Soliana to meet up with Knuckles, where he leads us to White Acropolis. Ignoring the snowboarding section in this level, it is by far one of my favorite levels throughout the entire game. This was my first time playing this game so far, or I genuinely can say I've had fun. And I honestly believe that is because this is the first level so far that has ran well. Well, maybe not well, but it ran decently. There were honestly very few lag spikes that occur throughout this level, and most of them were due to Tails gameplay, but the Sonic sections in this level I actually found really fun. Most areas with enemies were actually decently spread out and actually felt fair to attack, rather than how some levels punish you for fighting those enemies, which I felt made this level stand out in comparison to all of the other levels I've played so far. Moving on, we find Eggman deep within his base, and Sonic decides that Eggman will for sure stay true to his word. Eggman sent us to the Shadow Realm.
Whoa!
Which we've now been sent to the future. Hi, Shadow. Hi. Much like White Acropolis, I actually found this level pretty enjoyable. It features a good amount of sections that make you feel like you're going fast, which sounds bad, but in this game is pretty far and few between other than those mock speed sections, which of course are not fun. It goes from this section where you're riding on rails with a lot of skips that feel reasonable to take, to a simple area with enemies that you can take different paths at different speeds to complete. I even surprisingly enjoyed the speed section on this map. This was probably due to this being a much easier speed section, due to it only being a straight line, which causes you to be about 10 times less likely to fall off the map. This speed section definitely still had its own problems though. The frame rate. It didn't fully ruin the level as it does for most of the others. Wow, we made it to Flame Core. I want to talk about Knuckles. Plain and simple, not very fun. The idea is you want to hit the orbs to light them up, and after they've all been lit, the door opens and you're free to move on. But between the level's upward scaling and Knuckles' attacks not landing as intended, I heavily struggled with this section. My anger was further increased after I realized the orbs have a time limit on them, which just caused me to sit there looking dumb after I'd already hit all the orbs, which is immediately followed up by a really bad boss fight. Despite being one, if not the most important figure of the game, Iblis as a boss fight here is just terrible. The one in Silver story is slightly improved, as I'll talk about later on, but this one is just not it. It's not that it's a really difficult boss, it's just insanely slow. A large chunk of it consists on you sitting and waiting for Iblis to throw stones in so you can approach the glowing stones. The problem is this can take about a minute and a half for him to use these, which doesn't sound bad, but you're just sitting there, and I mean sitting there waiting. He's barely even attacking you, you're just sitting there. At least for the fourth and final hit, they just have Iblis come towards you, which makes it significantly easier and just allows you to get out of there. Beating Iblis means it's time to return to the present, which means bye, Shadow, bye. Arriving back, you find Elise and Eggman are near the train station. So, in order to save her, you go behind the guard's back. Shout out this kid. So, I wasn't aware, but apparently this level's on a time limit. Following the accident that left Soliana without a princess, the level continues smoothly as I beat it. First try, actually. Nah, you don't believe that. No, I really wouldn't either. This, like some of the previous levels, features a high speed section, but unlike Crisis City, this one's just atrocious. I know for starters, I don't like a lot of these sections, but I just found this one to be especially obnoxious. It features a lot of turns, which, you know, sounds bad, me complaining about it, but it's just my kryptonite. I don't know what you want from me. Don't even get me started about the section near the end, where they feature this tiny ramps that you're expected to just know are there. This all led to me being on my final life. And with this last shot, I locked in. Got it, so I died. And we're starting the level over. Yeah, I had to play the whole level again. Honestly though, after that one section, the rest of the level wasn't actually too bad. You chase the runaway train, which has cars falling off it. All you then need to do is dodge those, and you'll be able to move on. But I might have let the speed section get the best of me in the moment. Diabolical level. That level was terrible. I hated that one. Finally having rescued Elise, we should be closing in on the end. That is, until we run into Silver, who is hellbent on destroying Sonic. During this, Elise gets captured again by Eggman for literally the 16th time in this episode. But this time, she chooses a bit of a different path. She jumps off Eggman's ship. Is she crazy? Well, Sonic happens to be there. I still think it's genuinely crazy here that she's just like, you know what? I'm done. And she just jumps. Like, huh? This leads into another boss being Egg Genesis. I'm just gonna be 100% honest with you. It's just an insanely forgettable boss. You basically just let the enemies spawn, and then you go and hit the top of the mech enough times until you win. It's not too good, but not too bad either. Next is Tropical Jungle, which was just fine, all things considered. Not by far the worst level in the game, but I also wouldn't call it the best level either. And if I'm being honest, I don't have much to talk about here. What happened next though completely caught me by surprise. it was a cutscene that was able to top the opening one. The way they use the lighting to reflect off the pond back onto the characters, along with the background score, just gives it this feeling of being in awe looking at it. It's one thing that I thought these things while being a kid, but even now I'm still at awe at it. This game is almost 20 years old, and I personally believe it's still a cutscene that could hold up to this day. That being said though, this stuff between Sonic and Elise needs to stop. Following the beautiful cutscene, Eggman comes to Soliana to capture Elise. Only this time, it's different, and for sure Elise doesn't get captured. She gave herself up. 30 minutes ago, she tried to jump off his ship. What is happening? With Sonic nowhere to be seen, we're left with Tails, who heads to Wave Ocean to follow Eggman. This Wave Ocean was pretty whatever. It was pretty close, if not the exact same as when you play through it as Sonic earlier on. So I was able to move through it pretty quickly. We're then shown Elise and Eggman aboard his ship. Well, most of it is just Eggman lecturing Elise. There's this one part at the end where Eggman literally starts slapping his keyboard. Well, I didn't notice it the first time. While writing the script, I was dying laughing. Anyway, Eggman is still trying to revive the flames of disaster or whatever he's doing. Which, now that Sonic has magically reappeared, you must go to Old Soliana and do the 3 trials before unlocking Kingdom Valley. Looking back, if anything, the aesthetic of this level is beautiful. And I don't think the overall level was too bad either. While at the time it wasn't something I fully enjoyed, looking back, I definitely think that was a user error. A lot of the sections functioned decently. These were genuine mistakes that I made. This level is also the first time we get to see any Silver gameplay, which, while playing this level, I didn't really like. I personally think it takes a little bit of time in order to enjoy Silver's gameplay. But I'll go more into depth in that when it comes to his story. Finally, this level ends with the last high-speed section of this game, which I somehow was able to beat on my first try. I'm not even going to act like I did this skillfully at all. This was 100% luck-based, as I got bailed out for about half the section. I hit a pole at the very beginning of this level, and the game was weirdly generous enough to let me continue forward. But now that all of those sections are done, did I ever end up liking a single one? No, not at all. I hope that mechanic is gone forever. Eggman's ship is breaking as they cut to Sonic, who falls to his knees in another acted-out cutscene, which might have left me laughing instead of feeling bad, which does sound as bad as you think it does. The tone of the cutscene changes once again as we are now time traveling. This takes us to our last and final stage of episode Sonic, Aquatic Base. This may be me getting tired of playing this game, but man, this was a terrible final stage. While I don't like most of the stage, I especially hate the section with the rideable balls. When Sonic is on these, the controls are very finicky, and going at a reasonable speed almost feels impossible as you are either going too fast or too slow. And even though I eventually finished the level, I still might have lost my cool a little bit.
Can we turn? I can't see. Oh my god. I couldn't turn the camera. I'm getting shot, so I try to jump. And I try to jump, and I don't hit him. And then I just fall off the map.
On a side note, however, probably the best theme in this whole game. And this brings us to the final boss of episode Sonic, the Egg Wyvern. And all things considered, I think it's a decent fight. It takes a lot of previous fights throughout episode Sonic and combines them into this boss. Like the running into walls from Egg Cerberus, and I guess attacking him similar to Egg Carrier, but that's about normal for every other Sonic boss. But overall, decent fight. Could be worse. Looking at you, Iblis. Overall, upon finishing Sonic's story, I will say I was a bit disappointed. Which, to be fair, I really don't know what I was expecting. Maybe it was still the little kid in me that dreamed of this being the best game of all time, but I really did expect more. There were only about 2 levels in the total of 8 that I could even say I liked, which I really still don't know if that's because they were good, or I was just genuinely so worn out at some points where it made me feel better about them at that point. But this doesn't mean I fully hated it. I actually thought some of the cutscenes were pretty well thought out and especially scored well. Well, this wasn't my least favorite episode in the game. Wink, wink, you'll see later. It sure also wasn't my favorite. But on the other hand, let's move on to my favorite. This episode begins with Silver exploring his flame-torn city. Here he brings up the flames of disaster, which Iblis is responsible for. After, Blaze appears and reveals that Iblis has returned, which sends us right into our first level, Crisis City. While I nowhere near enjoyed this level as much as I did when I played through Sonic, I still thought it was an overall good intro for Silver. One thing that was very apparent from the beginning, however, were the frame rate issues that occurred while playing Silver. If you were to pick up too many objects to throw at enemies, the game's performance would severely begin to suffer. We also gained our first perspective into Blaze gameplay, which she has a lot of quick movements and is easily able to flow from enemy to enemy without much lag, which in my opinion was amazing. Following that was the actual boss fight you have with Iblis, which overall was a surprisingly easy boss fight. All you have to do is pick up the boulders he's throwing at you and launch them back at him. I'm serious. That was literally all. It's crazy. And you know what? It was fun. I really liked it. I'm looking at you, Sonic Iblis fight. Never again. Some random guy appears behind us. Mephiles. Silver believes everything he says. He reveals that Sonic is the Iblis trigger and that killing him would apparently save their world. So, they head back in time. Arriving in the present, Silver has been split up from both Blaze and Mephiles, so he decides to head into Tropical Jungle. While on the surface, I think it was a good level, that wasn't quite the experience I had. See, for some reason, I was extremely confident on this level, and I attempted to go off the main path, which caused me to get immediately lost. I wandered around this one section of the level for, I kid you not, 15 minutes. This was all because I missed one rope swing earlier on, and I looked over and over and over again just to have to go back in the level. But at least it's over now. We then see Blaze, who absolutely roasts Silver before heading into Wave Ocean.
I hope Silver is okay. He's pretty insecure when he's alone.
This is no joke, the best level in this whole game, by far. You play through the exact same sections as Sonic, but the Blaze gameplay of movement here just feels so much better in comparison. You easily flow from enemy to enemy with absolutely no lag. Unfortunately, it was also probably the shortest level of the game, which isn't necessarily a bad thing against it. It was just a bit too short in my opinion. But all that being said, 10 out of 10 level, and I wish I could play through the whole game as Blaze. We then see Silver again, who is chasing down Sonic just before being interrupted by Amy.
Huh?
They then join forces to find Sonic, but for vastly different reasons, which, after defending Soliana, they follow Sonic into Dusty Desert. This level was fine, but oh my god, it could have been so much worse. This level begins with a section where you're almost playing pool, but the pool balls are on a timer. While it sounds easy on the surface, the difficulty comes in the randomness. The pool balls aren't really going to go in the direction you are intending for them to go. However, I was surprisingly able to do this on my second try, by absolutely pure luck. This is also the first level where you see Amy played, and you know, it's whatever. She has an invisible mechanic and you use her hammer as attacks, but that's still better than Tails or Knuckles was. So in my opinion, it's really good. This leads into the fight with Sonic, which is just a flip version of the previous one. So if you guessed it was 10 times easier, then you would be correct. You just throw boxes at him repeatedly until you win. We then see the extended cutscene of Amy saving Sonic from earlier. This leads to Silver and Amy being conflicted about what they believe Sonic is doing. Amy chooses Sonic over the world, and this leaves Silver absolutely conflicted. Blaze finds Silver in this state, and Silver really can't decide whether killing Sonic is the right thing to do or not. But Blaze reminds him that nothing will change otherwise. So they continue forward and follow Sonic into White Acropolis. White Acropolis begins, and oh my god, we're playing as Blaze, which I breezed right through with a big smile on my face. When it comes to Silver, however, I thought this was an overall pretty whatever level, all things considered. The idea here is you want to take out all the searchlights, but the controls don't really allow you to do that. This caused me to get stuck on this level for a bit longer than I should have. I was eventually able to move on. Following that, we find Egg Genesis, which sucked. Unlike Sonic, where you just jump on top of him and easily take him down, with Silver, the idea is to throw the boxes at the robot, but like White Acropolis, that doesn't exactly work. Instead, they just decide to go directly in front of you instead of upward at all. Pair this with the camera, which decides it wants to look only at a robot, just makes this an overall terrible boss fight. Can I see? Can I please see the enemies on the ground? No? No, okay. Okay, no, I actually didn't want to anyway. I actually really don't want to. It's not like I need to see the enemies that are Silver then finds Mephiles, who ignores his question about Sonic and instead just tells him to get rid of Sonic, who is in Radical Terrain. However, getting there won't be that easy. While throughout most of this game, I have skipped talking about most of the sections where you go from stage to stage because frankly, they're boring. This one is very different. Apparently they thought, you know what, let's just throw a stealth section in a Sonic game because why not? While the section itself is fine, the problem is I didn't even realize it was happening. So I immediately jumped right into their line of sight, and you know, that would be whatever. Failing leads into, I kid you not, 2 different 1-minute loading screens, which sucks. I had to just sit there waiting for the game to load after I accidentally jumped into the line of sight. Not fun. But after almost ripping my hair completely clean off, I was able to complete it and move on to Radical Terrain, which was a slideshow. That wasn't fun. I'm moving on. Maybe I actually didn't like this episode. Nah, I'm sure it gets better. Right? Shadow appears as Silver attempts to attack Sonic. This then leads us into the Shadow boss fight, which, ding ding, you guessed it, is the exact same as Sonic, except I'm a bit stupid. Shadow then reveals the truth about Mephiles and his ideals as he brings Silver even farther into the past. The cutscene that plays next reveals the event that occurred 10 years prior, which gave birth to both Mephiles and Iblis. Following that, the original states attempt to escape the lab as both Shadow and Silver split up as they head into the next level, Aquatic Base. Oh boy, we get to talk about this level again. Yes, it's those stupid balls again. Only this time, they added this fun thing where there's a switch you need to press. The problem starts when the ball is like, you know what, you got this, and just leaves. Not only that, but I feel like half the time my jump would just straight up not register, and I would just fall. Thankfully, however, I was able to beat it on my final life and move on. Reaching the end of Aquatic Base, we finally find Iblis. The head scientist from the previous experiment then brings in Child Elise, and using the Chaos Emerald, he seals Iblis within her, keeping Iblis dormant. Shadow then reunites with Silver, where they return back to the present. Silver then finds Blaze, telling her the actual way to save their world is to help Sonic. So they follow him into our next level, Kingdom Valley. So, this level might have taken me 30 minutes to beat, and it's all because of this one section at the very end of the level, which I know is only the 60th time that's happened in this game. The idea here is you want to throw things at the structures in order to take them down. While I was able to take down the first two very easily, I couldn't quite figure out what I was supposed to do, which I'm dumb and finally realized there's a third structure I needed to take down, which allowed me to beat it and move on. I'm really dumb. This leads to the same Sonic cutscene from post Kingdom Valley where he heads into the past to save Elise. While Sonic does that, we instead head back into the future to stop Iblis one final time. As we return to Silver's homeland, we head into Flame Core in order to seal Iblis. So, we were swiftly able... Does that say 18 minutes? What happened? Oh, that happened. See, I thought this one section was like the Knuckles one from Sonic's Flame Core, but it turns out there was just a random switch on the ground that I didn't see, and I spent 10 minutes trying to light up all the cores. This game sucks. This takes us to the final boss of Episode Silver, which is of course Iblis, which this fight is a bit different from the previous one. In comparison to last time, the boulders you throw at him will only do little amounts of damage. Instead, a good amount of your damage will come from when he approaches you. You can jump on him and hit the psychokinesis spot to damage him. After doing that, however, it will cause him to break part of the foothold you were standing on. This is true until he hits about half health, where instead he builds a giant fireball to throw at you and break the foothold. Initially, I just believed I needed to run away from it and dodge it in order to beat it, which was the case until it broke the foothold and I died over and over and over again, which caused me to lose my mind and look it up. Psychokinesis the boulder? What? And you know what? Apparently you can grab it. Apparently the giant fireball that is coming at me, you can grab it. I didn't know in what world I was supposed to know to do that. There just isn't any visual indicator that that's what you're supposed to do. There's no reality where I just know to do that. I would have just never done that if I didn't look that up. There's just no way. I'm sorry. Like, I've been trying to give this game credit. There's just no way I would have ever done that. In the final cutscene, Silver attempts to seal Iblis within himself, but is unsuccessful in his attempt. Blaze instead steps in to take on the seal herself, but Silver here is unwilling to sacrifice her in order to seal Iblis.
I can't. I wouldn't know what to do without you. You fought alongside me to save the world.
So, Blaze takes matters into her own hands and seals herself, disappearing as light finally shines upon Crisis City. In contrast to popular opinion, I really liked both Silver's gameplay and story here. While it's not anything crazy story-wise, I really like the way his character develops. He begins being hell-bent on destroying Sonic because he would do anything to save his planet, but in the end, he isn't even willing to sacrifice Blaze in order to save said planet. And his gameplay, I also thought was very good. Sure, it took a little bit to learn the mechanics of it, but once you have them down, you can do some very cool things. Even though I thought some of the levels were a bit poorly designed, I still found myself enjoying the level most of the time. Most of the time, and I mean most. I do hate the fact that he's stuck behind this 20-year-old game that has this reputation. He has so much potential here. I hope they add new Silver gameplay in the future, as he was much more fun here than both Sonic and Shadow in my opinion. Which, speaking of Shadow, I suppose I have to talk about that episode. To get this out of the way, I did not like this episode. There will be very few things I talk about positively in this episode, and they will all be named Shadow. Hi, Shadow. So I hope you like hearing me be negative, because here we go. Episode Shadow just straight up opens with him raiding White Acropolis. He's been sent to save someone within the base, which takes us into our first level, White Acropolis. We venture into the base where we find the culprit of the SOS signal, Rouge. We then get to play our first section of Rouge here, which is just Knuckles' abilities with Tails' bomb. Yippee! me, my two favorite characters in this game. Surely this won't have consequences later. After finishing her section by skipping over half of it, we get to see the main mechanic for episode Shadow, and that is the variety of different vehicles that Shadow uses. I actually thought these were pretty cool at first. Later on, however, that may not be the case. Much like the previous times playing these levels, you need to take out the searchlights, and you can use the car to do that. While this was pretty simple, it didn't stop me from running into a few glitches here and there. So after wasting a ton of time, I was finally able to complete it and move on to the first boss, Egg Cerberus. Which, if you're wondering, it was the exact same as episode Sonic. And I mean exactly. Look, it's the same. I'll put them right next to each other. Next, we have to escort Rouge to the rendezvous point, which is at Kingdom Valley. This level opens with a paragliding section, which completely caught me off guard. It felt like something they threw in near the end of the level just to increase the length of it. This leads right into a Rouge section, however, and you'll never guess what happened next. I was dumb. The idea here is you want to be able to collect 3 keys, and that'll allow you to move on to the next section. While I found the first 2 keys very easily, I could not for the life of me find the third. I figured out it was locked in this tower, which the door was blocked, and I couldn't understand for the life of me on how I was intended to get in there. Which, it turns out, all you have to do is stick the bomb to this window pane, which was something I tried to do in the first minute. Man, I'm stupid. After getting a world record run for the Rouge section in this level, I was finally able to move back onto Shadow, where I gained my first experience with a certain vehicle.
What? What?
Believe it or not, this is still not the worst level that features this vehicle. Even with that, I was able to finally beat this level with a world record time of 14 minutes. 14 minutes. Then Eggman appears and attempts to take the Scepter of Darkness from Rouge, which causes it to break, and doing so frees Mephiles. Mephiles then sends Shadow and Rouge to the future where they encounter Sonic before heading into Crisis City. This level starts like all the other Shadow levels in which you start in a vehicle, which, after dying once, I made a business decision for my sanity and I jumped out. While the whole game drops frames, this level specifically was bad. Basically, the whole first section is just a slideshow. It's terrible. The next section is exactly like the Sonic level from earlier, but the game might have been making me a bit upset, and I might have said some things I shouldn't have said about the game.
What is wrong with this level? Why is it broken? Why is it broken? Why can Shadow not move? Like, I don't understand.
Nah, the game deserves it. It's terrible. Okay, but like, am I really in the wrong for getting upset when the camera does that? I can't see. At least the level thought, you know what? Let's have a flying section at the end of the game to give you 3 1-ups. So I won't complain too much. Except I will. There were 4 different loading sections in this map. They take a minute each. Just let it end. And oh my god, we're back in the car. We find Omega here in the future, but it seems he's no longer working before we meet up again with Sonic and head into Flame Core. This level was basically 1-to-1 the same as the Sonic episode. And yes, that does include the light up section, which I somehow did on my first try. Not only that, but I was able to breeze through the whole level.
No. Wait a minute. Almost get through. Almost speed ran it down mid. Still got an S. Cinema.
This unfortunately means that I have to fight Iblis again, yippee, which was the exact Sonic fight again. Yeah, there it is. I did it. After they all return back to the present, except Shadow, who gets distracted by Mephiles before he jumps in, which we'll come back to in a minute. First, Rouge decides to head to Tropical Jungle. I quickly figured out while playing through this that this is the exact version of Tropical Jungle as the Silver level, and refusing to get lost like I did in that level, I used her wall climb and fly abilities to basically skip the whole level. And like, should I have played through it normally? Yeah. But like, I already explored this whole level. I'm not doing that again. Rouge finds Omega here and gives him her Chaos Emerald to go find Shadow with. We cut back to Shadow, who is confronting Mephiles about what happened to the future. Mephiles tells Shadow here about how Mephiles being released gets blamed on Shadow, and that Shadow should join him so this doesn't happen to him, which Shadow promptly declines as he...
I determine my own destiny.
This then leads to the first Mephiles fight.
What the fuck?
This is one of the only multiple phase boss fights in the whole game. The first phase, you just need to attack enough of the Mephiles clones in order to fill up your meter. And once you fill up the meter, you unleash your, I think, Chaos Power, as it's called? Ah, his Chaos Boost, I knew that. Which causes Mephiles to be revealed, and then you can attack him. This leads to phase 2 of this fight, in which Omega does step in to help. And Omega gameplay is exactly as you expect it to be. You press the attack button, and he shoots. That's all. That's all that phase 2 is. And you just follow around Mephiles like you're a fly, and until you eventually defeat him. They then rendezvous back with Rouge in the present. Here they get info that Eggman is escaping at Radical Train, which they of course follow him. Oh boy, it's time to talk about Radical Train. This was the level that finally broke me. About 90% of the level was fine. There was only a couple minor mishaps. But the problem was at the end. Here, we are introduced to one of Shadow's vehicles, that being his motorcycle. This thing is by far the worst vehicle featured within his story. The bike steering is somehow worse than Sonic in his speed sections. It's so bad that during the first section you're supposed to use it, I just skip it. I just run. It works a million times better. The second section of this area is following the runaway train. The idea is to shoot the back of each car, slowly destroying them until you hit the main one, which I was able to do around my third time. But no matter how many bullets I would put in the back of the main car, I couldn't destroy it. So I gave up. On my third death, I just looked it up, and I wasn't very happy about the outcome.
I shot it 50 times. What? What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? What a poorly designed level. Like I've tried giving this game so many you know what? It's not that bad. It's not that bad. This worst design level by far, and it's not close. Genuine terrible level. What do I do? What do I do? Genuinely, what do I do?
It turns out on the final car, you need to shoot the 2 silver side panels, which was not intuitive at all. And I let the game know that.
You need to shoot the panels on the side of the train? Why? It's not like they show you that. That is so stupid. That is so stupid. Why? It has the thing on the back. It's one thing if it doesn't have the thing on the back, but it literally has like the thing on the back that would indicate you're supposed to shoot at that. So why do you shoot the side panels? I genuinely don't understand it. I do not understand it. It's insane that they decided that was the right choice there, without telling you at all. Just like the Iblis fight with Silver, where it's not obvious that you can grab the big ball coming at you. It's crazy.
Moving on from that horrid level, Shadow then finds Eggman, who actually gives him pretty helpful advice about Mephiles.
But here's a hint. It's all linked to the Soliana disaster 10 years ago.
After watching this cutscene for the straight up third time, we beat Silver and head into the past to Aquatic Base. While it still wasn't my favorite level of the entire game, it was still indefinitely better than the last atrocity I just played. And throughout the other 2 episodes, I think I've talked about this level enough where I'm just good to move on. Next, Shadow steals Mephiles for the first time, which gives reason to why Mephiles blames him in the future. After that, we meet back up with Silver, who has just sealed Iblis, and we head back to the present. Landing back in the present, we meet back up with Rouge, as we now know how to seal Mephiles, which, after saving the archaeologist, she reveals the location of the Scepter of Darkness, which we grab and head to Wave Ocean. While still similar to the other versions of this level, you explore a lot more area within this version of it. I actually thought that was pretty cool. This was also a level that didn't fully feel broken compared to most, and that even includes the vehicle sections. Overall, for this episode, solid level. Omega then attacks Mephiles, but he escapes by the time Shadow and Rouge arrive. They then find out that Mephiles has escaped to the desert, so after defending Lord Regis, we are allowed access into the desert. Dusty Desert is the final level within episode Shadow, and by far it might be the worst. Yes, and I mean worse than the Radical Train incident. This level starts on a hovercraft as you're exploring the desert. My first attempt, I was insanely lost and wandered around the map until my hovercraft exploded. On the second attempt, however, I figured out you were supposed to go through these pillars, but oh, it flipped over. Cool. You have to go insanely slow through this section, or that will happen again every time. After I finished that section, I pretty quickly ran into another issue. We hit the section where you finally play through a level as Omega, which, oh my god, this was by far the worst part of this game. Trying to platform on this character is just miserable. His hover is borderline broken, and half the time his jump just didn't register. Pair that with his overall lack of ability to attack enemies. Like, what do you mean these attacks are not hitting? I died over and over and over again, and I was not at all happy about it.
So, cue the crash outs. Oh my god, it's just not fun. I don't get it. I don't get how they would make this and be like, oh yeah, this is fun. This level is the worst level I've played so far. And I played that silver level. And I played the Radical Train. And this is genuinely, like, it's just like not fun. Just jump, Omega! Just... Every time I press the jump button, Shadow doesn't jump. This about crashes the game because it like goes through menus. Omega shoots 2 shots a second. It's genuinely insane how you can make something that bad. You start the level slow as fuck on a stupid wave crasher. And if you go through the rings not fast enough, Shadow is Sonic. He's supposed to go fast. Why are we lollygagging through the desert? And then you get me to Omega. I'm playing Omega, and I have to try to shoot a thing. And all of a sudden, it's tight platforming with Omega, who, if you don't press the jump time perfectly, he just falls. He just falls and sits there and hover as I hover down to my death. Bar none, worst level of the game. Freedom. It's the sweet release of death. The sweet release of Dusty Desert that has taken me 35 minutes to complete. Oh my god. It shouldn't be that hard. It shouldn't be that hard. And it wasn't even hard. It was just annoying. And it was frustrating. And this game is terrible.
All that remains is another Mephiles fight, and it's pretty similar to the last one, in which you build up the meter to a certain amount and then attack him. Honestly, not much to say for this final fight, all things considered. Shadow then attempts to seal Mephiles like he did in the past, however, it is stopped this time due to Mephiles building a resistance to it. Mephiles questions why Shadow still fights, even if the whole world is against him, in which Shadow tells him that he'll have to fight the whole world if he has to. He then out-auras Mephiles as he starts taking out waves of enemies, ending episode Shadow. Episode Shadow was an overall disappointing outcome for me. Like everyone else, Shadow is my favorite Sonic character, and this was a disappointing look for him in my opinion. A lot of his gameplay felt super clunky, and I didn't like any of his mechanics. The bad heavily outweighed the good here, leaving me with only bad memories of this episode. Story-wise, I felt it was fine. Nothing super dumb or over the top, so at least that was redeemable. I know it's dumb to wish for better gameplay from this game, but I'm delusional, and I still hoped it would be good. This, however, only leaves one episode left. After completing each of the playable characters' episodes, you unlock what is called the last episode, which brings all the characters together in order to wrap up the game. This episode opens with Elise and Sonic walking through Old Soliana, when all of a sudden they are flashbanged as Mephiles appears behind them. Mephiles then, I kid you not, murders Sonic. Like, for real, not in the joking way I was talking about earlier. This then causes Elise to freak out and release Iblis in the process, where Mephiles then reunites with Iblis and creates a spatial distortion. In this spatial distortion, however, we reunite with every character we've played the entire game as, and they all begin to panic over the loss of Sonic before Silver reminds them that we might be able to bring them back with the power of the Chaos Emeralds, which have been spread out all throughout the distortion, and this leads into the first of 2 levels in this episode. Here you play through every character except Blaze and Sonic, because, you know, they died. You play through small sections of most of the levels. The only catch here is there's a lot of black holes that will spawn throughout the levels. First up is Tails in Crisis City, which I might have made a couple mistakes, but I was still able to grab 2 1-ups before grabbing the first emerald. Next we head to Flame Core, and oh my god, it's Omega. Luckily though, it functioned unlike the desert, and I was able to quickly move on before I grabbed the second emerald. Third is Knuckles, who was in Tropical Jungle. This was an actually decently easy level, as I was able to climb and fly over a lot of the level, much like I did when I played this level on Rouge, which after possibly getting a little stuck, I was finally able to grab the third emerald. We then move on to the desert where we play as Silver. I might have struggled on this section. Listen, it's not my fault. The black holes in this section are abnormally strong. I would try to walk by them and get pulled in every time, even though I wasn't close. But after a couple tries, I made it through and received the 4th emerald. Next is Rouge within Wave Ocean, which started off amazing. And I clipped through the ground. I then took a different approach and attempted to climb the pillars, which it turns out they break, and on my 3rd attempt I made much more progress, but accidentally ran into a portal. But as it turns out, I have to start over. That's so annoying. That's so annoying because the other one had full aggro on me, so it was pulling me in, so I aimed over, and it just instantly, when it let go of me, it just instantly shot left. After speedrunning through the sections, I was able to get to Rouge with 7 lives left, and as it turns out, I still struggled. The portals like to pull you while flying, which is miserable on levels like this, where almost anything in the level can kill you, which might have caused me to get a little upset.
This is gonna make me crash out. Straight up, because like, this is not designed very well. Oh my god! I just got killed by a falling pillar. That's crazy. That's genuinely crazy. I'm gonna use all 7 of my lives I had on this one area because it's not designed well. Because I just can't do it. This is genuinely the worst part of this game. I got mad at everything else when I was playing it earlier, but this is genuinely awful. It is so poorly designed. I can't move, and I don't know where to go. There's none of those things that you're supposed to do to, you know, make the portals go away, and then I die to the portals.
Following 1 million crash outs, I was finally able to grab the 5th emerald. We cut to Amy now, who's in White Acropolis. This one was much easier than the previous Rouge one, as I was able to complete it on my first try, grabbing the 6th emerald. This then takes us to the final section, Kingdom Valley, which features Shadow. And other than that one specific spot, which I might say something about the devs, not too many problems, as I was able to grab the last emerald and proceeded to absolutely blast the Rouge section.
Rouge was terrible. Who designed that? It was terrible. That was the worst level I've ever played.
Now all that's left is to revive Sonic, which is the worst cutscene of all time. If you've ever seen this cutscene before, you definitely know what's about to happen, and I didn't, and it was the worst thing I've ever seen in my life.
Huh? What? Wait, what? She kissed him and he came back as Super Sonic? Huh?
That's gross. Following that cutscene, all that remained was the final boss. So all the hedgehogs hold hands and glow yellow as they take on the fusion of Mephiles and Iblis, Solaris. So I hated this boss. Probably the first time I've said that this whole game. I think the idea here is you're supposed to hit the glowing sections on his body, but if I'm being honest, I don't really know. I died a bunch of times in a row by simply having no idea what I was supposed to do. I just kept throwing different moves at him in a variety of orders until I eventually just beat him. Most of these were through Sonic, as he's the only character I felt like I could get a hit on Solaris with, and eventually the armor on his arms broke off and I was able to do damage. But if I'm being honest, I really don't know what I did based off my reaction after phase 1.
Oh my god. I don't really know what I did to win that, but he's dead, and that was awful. Worse than Iblis, times 10.
Is it over? No.
Oh, of course it's not over yet. You know, it's a final boss, so it's gonna have more than one phase.
That's right, phase 1. Luckily, phase 2 was honestly easier than the first, as he doesn't have the armor anymore, and as the orchestral version of his world kicked in, I knew it was time to lock in one last time, which, unlike every other time, I actually did. Solaris has finally been defeated. Side tangent, I got an S.
In what world?
Elise and Sonic are then transported back before the incident 10 years ago. Here, they can make the choice to put out Iblis's flame, preventing anything from happening, but in return, erasing everyone's memory. Elise has an almost parallel character arc of Silver here, where, just like he was, Elise is unwilling to give up her memories to save the world. It's Sonic, however, that convinces her to put out the flame, with the one line he said throughout this whole game.
Just smile.
The game then ends just as it began, the Festival of the Sun in Soliano, with this time Sonic as the spectator, and Elise looking onward as if she's almost forgetting something. It once more cuts to Sonic, looking up at the moon, as the kingdom of Soliana has been saved. I personally really loved this ending for the game. It gave me this almost rewarding feeling, which is weird, because for most of this time while playing the game, I didn't like it. I think I could write a million things here, but I definitely summed it up best within the moment.
I do hate this game, and it did piss me off for a lot at the very end, but it feels really good to finally beat it. I've wanted to do this my whole life. It sounds really stupid, but like genuinely, I've wanted to do that my whole life. I've wanted to see that cutscene. I wanted to see the triple super Sonic cutscene. It feels really cool to finally beat it, and I think my kid self would be really happy right now. I think this game had a lot of potential that was fumbled. I think some of the fights were poorly designed, and I hope one day it is remade. I don't think it ever will be, but I think if it's remade and genuinely had care put into it, I think it could be a really, I do think it could be on a Generations or, in my opinion, Colors, because those are my two favorite Sonic games. I think they could be on that level of type of game. I don't think this has the same problem Forces had for me, where Forces felt dead and empty and the gameplay was boring. At least the gameplay was trying to innovate here, in my opinion. I didn't hate it at all. It upset me, sure, but I definitely didn't hate it, which I think I'm the only person ever who has this take on this game. But yeah, that's all for Sonic 06.
If you want to experience this game, I highly suggest not doing this, and instead play the Project 06 mod by Chaos X. It's a fully realized version of this game that expands the gameplay and honestly makes every level actually fun to play. Yes, even shadow levels. It is the experience I was dreaming of having while I was playing through the original, and I honestly think it should be how you remember this game, rather than its unfinished predecessor. Again, thank you for watching, and if you did enjoy, please consider subscribing. I don't know, that'd be pretty cool if you ask me, but otherwise, that's all for Sonic 06. Bye now. Bye forever now.